What's going on, guys? What's cracking? Back here in the garage, and today I've got some new parts from Grannas Racing. Joe Grannas was kind enough to send out a new shifter for his Magnum F. So the shifter itself is really not much changing. It's just literally the little piece above. Well, let me just show you. So here's what we're changing today. So this is the shifter that actually comes up and out. The piece that's in there now is about 2 inches. Well, it is 2 inches longer than this. And the only gripe I had with the shifter in the Magnum F for my Supra was I felt like it was too high. Comparing it to a V160 in my other cars, it just felt very tall. So he saw one of my posts and I said, that's the only gripe I had. And I think I was commenting on something. He's like, I think his exact words were, all right, I'll bite, or he's like, I'll fix it, you big baby. So I just always laugh because he always gives me such a hard time. Joel's such a good guy and he's always trying to perfect things. Like if I have an issue, he's like, all right, why do you have that? Why don't you like it? And I'll tell him. It's kind of like the shifter cone thing, which he's also looking at having these made out of billet aluminum and look like the V160 reverse lockout. He's always going the next level, and I love that about him. He's never happy enough. He never rests on his laurels. He's always trying to push it to the next level, which I like. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the shifter looks like inside so you guys can get a good perspective, an idea of how tall it is now. So I think the best way to do this is actually look from the passenger side maybe. Put this back, I got my tissues in the back because I've been sneezing like a madman. Let's do this. So if we look at the shifter here, guys, it doesn't seem out of place, right? But I'm gonna measure this from the center here and up, and this is, I'm gonna use the same shift knob, but this isn't one of his shift knobs, but from the top of that right now, where is that? About 9 inches. Camera's not showing it properly if I get the right angle here, but it's about 9 inches. The camera's not showing it right. If you're looking in person, it's about 9 inches there from the center of that console to the top. So that should lower about 2 inches. So it should realistically, if I look at it here, should drop it from about there down. So it should be about here now, which will be a lot better if you look here from where your center console is to where my hand goes. My arm's going up like this right now, and I didn't really like that. I just wasn't a very comfortable driving position. So dropping this about 2 inches should be nice. So I'm gonna set up my camera here and let's take this all apart. All right, guys, first and foremost here, we got to get the shift knob off. This is a racing shift knob, so this is not something you're going to be getting from Joel. This is another company based out of Pennsylvania, PA. It's a pretty nice piece. I really do like this. Heavy, really heavy stuff. They'll make whatever you want. They make custom shift knobs. You got to go on their website. They just make some of the coolest stuff. Another thing we got to do here is I got to get this piece off. Now looking at it, I think that's a 14 millimeter. I don't think I got the right size. Yeah, I have to go back here and get another socket adapter. So what this is Racing sells this and allows you to put all their shift knobs on. They have their own proprietary thread, and then they make these little adapters that fits on any thread type you have, so you can use their shift knobs on any car. Then it has this little set screw in the top, so your shift knob's always facing the right direction. If you guys have ever had like a crappy aftermarket shift knob, you always know they're always like twisted around. They're never facing the right way. This makes sure that they face the right way. It's a pretty cool little piece, but I gotta go get the right size. I believe it's a 14 or a 15 millimeter. Ended up being a 15 millimeter, which is probably something SAE, but I don't feel like grabbing SAE, and you just spin this off. Now, again, sorry for the ratcheting noise, but just a little aluminum piece that comes on and off. Hopefully it comes off. Yeah, these aluminum threads get, lack of better words, bitched up over time, especially if you take these things on and off. The good thing with racing, you can buy this piece alone. I think it's like 10 bucks. So if it does get destroyed, you just buy another one for $10. And there we go. So that piece is off. Now that takes that. What we'll have to do next here is remove my shift boot from this, push that down, and then see if I can slide this off. This is a little 3D printed retainer that Joel had made specifically for me. I wanted it to look like a reverse lockout, and he did a pretty good job. After that, we got to pull up this big boy, and then underneath here there's a little a light switch we got to undo. So pull up. I've got to then unplug this here. This is for the light for the cup holder. Oh, sorry, grabbed it from the wrong side. There we go. Grab that, sit that down there. Now, I could remove this boot here, so if you guys can see it, there's a boot here. Here's the shaft itself. Let me zoom in a little bit more for you. So here's the shaft itself. This is what we're unbolting and replacing here today. The new one is much shorter. There's two, I guess, I'm not sure they wouldn't be hex heads. I guess they're ball style heads, or I always forget what these are called. Hex key, I'm sorry. Hex key heads on this side I got to undo. I believe I put blue Loctite on it, so I got to put a little bit of effort. All I got to do is take these two off and then bolt the new one on, and we're done. Now, one thing I don't have either, if you can see here, and it's one thing I need to fix, and I think Joel's actually talked about this too. He's like, what are you doing to keep heat from coming up? I do have the factory rubber boot on it right now, but I do not have something to keep from heat from coming up through the shifter here. So you can see it's still open. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but some heat does come up through. It's not that bad, but there is some heat to come up through it. The factory piece fits perfectly around the factory shifter. This being aftermarket, it's not perfect. So that's something I think he has talked about too. I'm not sure if he's working on it yet, but just an idea. So let's go ahead and unbolt this. So you're going to need a hex key to remove this, guys. It's a 7/32 here. So yeah, it's just 7/32. It's not metric, so if you're wondering about that, I know some people might actually been curious. Get this in here, and this is where you got to put some effort. Because like I said, I did Loctite these because I did not want my shifter coming loose. The old sticky shifter came loose so much, I'm just so scared anymore, but this shifter I hadn't had a single problem with. That's one of the big upsides of the F Magnum over the old setup, is we had to deal with that sticky shifter. One thing I do miss is the sticky shifter, the throws were slightly shorter, and now this is going to even fix that. So there's literally nothing that I miss about that old setup now. Like, I highly recommend upgrading if you can. If I stop beating this off my radio, that would be fantastic also. So let's go ahead and get these last bolts out, and we'll be done. Okay guys, so I wanted to go ahead and give a side-by-side comparison. Here was the shifter I just removed. Push that up a little bit more so it's more side-by-side. If you can see it there, that's next to my hand too. And this is representation. It's exactly 2 inches shorter, so I'm sorry about the light here. So let me get a little bit closer here. It's 2 inches shorter, so that should make a massive difference. Again, he sent me a new 3D printed piece. This one we can't use for right now because, as you can see, we had more stock before, but he is going to be working on something that's going to fit over this to look more like the reverse lockout. Again, I can't thank Joel enough for this. He must really hate me, I'm assuming at this point. Now, he did mention too, this is not coated. The old one here is, so that's why it hasn't rusted. This is made out of steel, so it will not break. The sticky shifters use stainless steel and they were always snapping, so he uses steel for his. Mine hasn't been coated here, so this will most likely rust over time, but the one he will be giving you is like nickel coated or plated in some shape, way, or form. So it won't rust over time. He does go that extra mile, which I do like. But let's go ahead and get this bad boy in the car. All right, guys, so I went ahead and installed the new piece here. I've used blue thread locker. It's much shorter. I like this a lot. My shift knob's not on or anything yet. The only thing I'm going to have to most likely do is I'm going to have to Dremel out my my boot holder because it doesn't go down far enough. Again, this is all prototype stuff, guys, so this is all new. This is one he originally used. He wants me to give feedback. It comes down to like a square stock down here, the way it bolts together to keep it nice and tight. So I'm going to have to Dremel this out some, which is not a big deal, to get this to slide down and make room. Besides that, this should go on pretty easy. So I'm going to go ahead and take some time, Dremel this out, and then I'll get back with you guys in a minute. So I was able to wobble this out a little bit more here. See if I can zoom in. Zoom in for y'all. That takes a little bit to zoom, but I was able to wobble that out and get this to sit down right at the bottom thread. So now I can put this guy back on. I just want to make sure I had as much room as possible. I didn't want to take any chances. So let's get this threaded back on and tighten down. The last thing I wanted to do is that caused me headache or problems. Just to see where it's at. Oh man, that's what I wanted. Right there it is. That's factory shift point. Oh yeah. Perfect. Literally perfect. Oh yes. This makes me so freaking happy. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So take that back off because I got to put my shift boot back on now. But that is perfect, and this can sit on there, and it's just sits on there loose. When I put my shift knob on, it keeps it tight. So let's put this all back on now. Again, gotta put in my little light. Again, you don't really need this. This is for my auto extrude cup holder, but I kind of like having it. So let's do this. Oh my gosh, push this back in there. And getting this thing to line up sometimes is a pain in the butt. There we go. Come on, dang it. This front tab just wants to break on me, and I don't know why. It's not wanting to sit on there, and I don't... Why don't you want to sit in there? Never gives me this issue. There we go. That's better. Better, better, better. There we go. Alright guys, so with the new shifter installed here, let's twist this around real quick. Here's where we're at now. Should have lowered it just about 2 inches, which it did. So it's much better. If you can see the angle there for the shifter versus where your arm rests, it's more natural now. Much, much, much better. I do have an aftermarket shift boot in this, and people are probably like, that's not possible. But you can drill out the plastic welds on their side of these, and it is possible. It's not perfect, but it worked pretty well. So fits in there nice now. The boot is crinkled like it would look from factory, and it shifts nice. Much shorter, much more like I expected it to be, and the boot just popped back up. But yeah, much better and much happier with it now. So guys, I'm extremely happy with the new shifter. Big thank you to Joel for giving that a shot. He said he might have some more revisions here, so we'll see. As of right now, though, that looks like that's perfect in my eyes. So we'll see where it goes from here. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in today. I'm not sure if I'm adding more to this video, so maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But if there's not, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.